Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's get started.
Straight from New York, yo, this handsome man,
You are now tuned in to Aljo, the funk master. Watch your grill, you'll get knocked out cold fast. And talking shit, now we talking facts. Whether mount or off the back, you in trouble, came to burst your bubble. I don't shelter punches, they find Holm on your mind about a double. It's the weekly scraps. You don't need a map, GPS, I'm right here to lead it that. The world doesn't know it needs, but I grow the seeds, planted fucking name and the fame. Only legacy remains. Remember the name, Aljamain Sterling.
It ain't safe,
Motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps, episode 98. It has been a good weekend of fights, and we finally got our answers solved. Asked, yeah, solved. Yeah. We got the answers that we've been looking for, not the question. We already got our problems solved. That makes more sense. But great weekend of fights. Good week of training for myself, getting back here to Vegas and getting back after it. I had to go home, take care of some stuff. And here we are back in beautiful Viva Las Vegas. As you can see, welcome to my humble abode. There were some really good fights, man. I didn't think the main event was going to go the way that it did. But it did. But before we get into that, quick update. I'm supposed to be finding out sooner rather than later what's going to be happening with my next fight. It's supposed to take place in either the first or the second week of December. Marab is fighting Cody Stamen December 5th. I think a lot of people have been seeing that on IG now. He's released that information. I believe the contract is signed on both sides, so it's okay to release the goods. So that's happening December 5th. I'm either fighting on that same card with my guy, Merab Dvalishvili, or the very next weekend, I believe that is the Usman and Gilbert Burns fight. I think there's another title fight on that fight, so they might be trying to do 3 title fights on one card, or they might bump this title fight to the weekend of December 5th. Either way, I'm excited about it. We're just trying to figure out the contract negotiation stuff and go from there. So that's a little update on me. Other than that, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to be doing the majority of my training camp out here in Vegas, who's going to be involved. I'm looking forward to having one or some of the coaches out here in Vegas being a part of it as well, being that they're actually physically here. And for the most part, man, I really do have a very big play in the part of how my training camps take place. And what I mean by that is I like to construct the training camp and know exactly what I'm going to do. I don't really have like a schedule like this is what we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday. I don't really train like that because I think your body changes and it has to adapt based on how it's feeling. And you see that most of the time with guys that have camps mostly revolved around them. So with that being said, it allows me to have a little bit more flexibility in what I want to do besides having a strict regime. And this is what we're doing today, and it's going to be the same thing every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday. So for me to have that flexibility to be able to pick and choose and move some pieces around based on how I'm feeling, based on my opponent, makes things a lot easier. Back home, I run the Mondays and Wednesday MMA class. Right now, James Gonzalez is taking care of that and putting the guys through some good work over there. So it's going to be a little bit of a changing of the pace. So I'm just trying to get on the same page as the coaches out here and just expressing my feelings. And this week we're supposed to have some sit downs and really hash out what goals we're all trying to accomplish and how can I make sure everyone is whole. If I got to pay up front, if I got to pay at the back end, do I pay per session type of thing? Rep the banner. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm always going to be a Long Island fighter no matter what. Sarah Longo, to the day I die, to this day. But that's what I'm dealing with right now. And you could imagine it's very chaotic trying to move all these pieces and try to figure everything out in the process of still moving into my house. I still got a lot of things that I need to get put away. We've had a lot of guests in and out. I still got to clean up their stuff that they use, like the towels, the washcloths, the bed sheets, get everything fresh. I might have some guests, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So I just got to make sure I'm keeping myself like, not, I don't want to say tunnel vision, but definitely driven in the right direction. I don't want to get distracted by doing too much and getting pulled in different directions of stuff. So that's kind of my mentality, and I kind of feel like that pressure is coming in on me, and I just need to get a little bit of a grip on what's going on. So this week I told myself, we got to nail down our training schedule or have some type of idea of where we're going to be, what we're going to be doing, and from there we can manipulate the pieces and move them where we see fit based on how the body's feeling and based on the things that we're working on to try to improve on for this fight against Pena. So I'm excited about this whole opportunity. I see that he's down there in Dagestan right now putting in a lot of time on the wrestling mat. He's a pretty good scrambler. That's one thing I did notice about him, but it's not the same wrestling with a guy who does folk-style scrambles versus freestyle and Greco-Roman scrambling. So it's a little bit different, but he's definitely getting some good work. So I do appreciate that because I see that he's trying to get better in that department, and he's trying to stay sharp as well. So for me, I got to grab me some bodies so I can make sure my wrestling is sharp, because the last thing I want to do is be a step behind because I don't have the high-level guys that I'm used to having back home in certain departments like jiu-jitsu or like a Jason Ralph with jiu-jitsu. To have him to drill with and to roll with, it's head and shoulders above any type of competition I've ever been with. And in Vegas, Poland, London, Liverpool, any of the places I've trained, SBG, Jason Rao, and the John Danaher Death Squad, those guys are some of the best, if not the best guys in the world that I've ever rolled with around my size, hands down. Not saying the other guys aren't good. I'm just saying the guys that I've competed with. And that was a couple of years ago in terms of some of the John Danaher guys. I haven't gone with them of late, so I could only imagine how much better they've gotten. But going with Jason Rao, that's always the same. He's whooping my ass all the time. But I try to make it as competitive as I possibly can. But he is the OG on the ground. And in terms of the wrestling, I usually am able to get a couple of Hofstra guys, one or two bodies to come down and roll with me, just sharpen up my scrambling, or even my brother Troy, and we'll just drill and rep and go through some funk scrambles to keep those positions sharp in my mind. All right, let's get into our weekend rewind with the UFC 253 card. First up, Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. Wow. Second round TKO. And then he came all over that ass. I've never seen anything like that. If there was a standout performance of a lifetime, is that one. Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. I think that one let people remember him for why he's great and why he's gotten to the title in the first place. Not that lackluster performance that he had against Yoel Romero. Sometimes we have those performances. It's just you can't have all these barn burners every single time. So it's only natural that you have like even like John Jones. He's been so dominant. When he has a lackluster performance, everyone gets on him. But it's not like he's not trying. Same thing with that. You know, it's not like he wasn't trying against Yoel Romero, but he had to be smart about the situation. Even though I did think Yoel maybe did a little bit more in the individual rounds, but whatever. I'm not a judge. Israel guys, the hand raised, and here he is again doing it in dominant fashion and styling at that. He had some words with Captain America, going over to the corner, and he said, "I'm coming for you," to Izzy, and Israel said, "Well, I'm coming all over you, or I'm coming on you," or something like that. And I thought that was hilarious because I've got a lot of ats in my mentions hitting me up saying he's channeling his inner funk master, which is pretty funny. But yeah, it was a great performance. And if you watch the way he was able to pick him apart, his jab, his feints, his lateral footwork, didn't give Costa a chance to get inside, to slow him down, and to do what he does best, which is unload those nuclear bombs in his biceps, in his hands, and put people down. So every time he got close, he either tied him up or he was going left, right, bouncing out of there, passing him by, covering up on the way out, offering some offense on the exchange. So he was going defense to offense on his way out and giving Costa something to think about every time he exited and tried to push him against the cage. Now, Costa did a lot of taunting. I didn't really understand it. I understand it in the very beginning. Maybe you're trying to bait him in. But then after a while, it's like, dude, you're not doing anything. We need you to push the pace, cut off the cage, and even if you're going to get clipped, try to move your head on the way in and throw something where you can at least try to land something. But Adesanya was the matador, man. He was in there fencing, sticking and moving. picking his shots, landing the crisp jab a couple of times that popped Costa's head down, head back, head down. And then that last combination, I believe it was the right hand that clipped him, put Paulo Costa down. And from there, Adesanya followed up with some nasty ground and pound from the mount position. Ironically, after being given a white belt from Paulo Costa at the face-offs for the weigh-ins. So it's fascinating to see two guys, the top of their game, undefeated, and the gap in skill set. Or maybe it was just Adesanya just really on and firing on all cylinders in comparison to Paulo Costa. We hear these stories about Paulo Costa going through like 15, 20 sparring partners or something like that. That sounds scary. That sounds intimidating. But then you have to ask yourself, what type of work is it? Is it quality work in terms of the people that can give you the Adesanya looks, who can stay long and stay disciplined in the sparring, although they're getting popped, knowing that their job is to touch and go, and not give you an opportunity to get inside, and then you have to figure out ways to troubleshoot that. When they showed the video in the back rooms of these guys warming up, and I saw Costa hitting the belly pad, and they were throwing it on the legs for them to protect it, for Paulo Costa to crash it, I was like, okay. I think Costa's going to come out and attack the leg kicks early. But instead, it was Adesanya who was attacking the leg kicks. He didn't give him an opportunity to get started in any department, and that's what I found so fascinating and just beautiful about his entire execution. He didn't give him a chance to get started. He gave him almost no openings. It was pretty much as flawless of a victory as it can get at the highest of the highest levels. The last time there was undefeated fighters was Rashad Evans versus Lyoto Machida. Ended in a finish TKO for Lyoto Machida to get the win. And it was almost as dominant as this, if I remember correctly. And the same thing, the guy who was kind of like the fencer or the counter striker, Lyoto Machida, caught Rashad Evans against the cage, and they were in a shootout fight, and he put him away. But this wasn't this wasn't against the cage. This was in the middle of the octagon. So I'm just trying to tie it all in with two undefeated fighters. It ends in a finish. You would think that these guys being the two best guys in the division, at least this is what we're being sold, that it would go to either a decision or it would be a lot more competitive than what it was. Paulo Costa has a great skill set. I think he needs to work on his timing with his feints and not just being this bulldozer that he's used to just running through people. Because styles make fights. When he runs into a guy who has a little bit more finesse, more footwork, and he's super accurate, this is the type of problem he's going to run into. Now, Adesanya is going to be here for a while. So Paulo Costa has to make these adjustments. He's probably going to have to rattle off a couple of wins to get back to that title shot. And I almost guarantee you, as long as Israel Adesanya keeps his head on straight, there's nobody who's going to come close to touching him at this point in the UFC 185 roster. I don't see anyone who's doing anything similar or close and has the entire package to solve the puzzle of Israel Adesanya. He's long. He's rangy. He's accurate. He's got some pop, and I think his diversity and his skill set, plus his footwork, and he has really good cardio. So that's a tough guy to beat. Very tough guy to beat. I'm trying to think if there was any other situation with this. I know Jared Cannonier is fighting Robert Whittaker. Should Cannonier win, he's probably going to get the next title shot. I would love to see that fight against Israel Adesanya. I think it's going to be more or less the same. I think he's got more devastating ground and pound if he can get the fight to the ground. But again, the speed and the footwork of Adesanya with the laser precision in a big cage, 30-foot cage, it's really hard to get your hands on that man. And I know people have criticized me and say my fight with Cody Sandhagen doesn't count because it was in the small cage. Guys, I've taken guys down in the big cage nonstop. I fought Cody Stamen, took him down in the big cage. It's all about how you cut off and the pressure that you use and the feints that you use. If I just go forward and the guy has really good footwork, yeah, I'm going to have a hard time tracking that guy down because he's going to use the same lateral footwork, left, right, boom, boom, confusing me which way he's going to go, double up on the left or double up on the right, and bouncing, he's back to the center. Yes, but when you cut the guy off and you gradually inch your way in, you use your feints and you kind of dictate which way they're going to go, there's only but so much time, and and attempts that you can keep missing, eventually that person has to throw something. And when they throw something, they're usually planted, especially if it's a kick. Stupid. But if they throw a punch, at some point they have to sit down on it unless they're throwing arm punches. And I got the range. So I can touch you while you probably can't touch me. And eventually I'm able to cut you off and take you down. If you can say it again, I had the longer reach. But this is not about me. This is about Adesanya. And a great way to get his second title defense. He unified it. He won the interim, unified it, beat Costa, beat Romero, defended, and then defeats Costa. So his second title defense. And I love the fact that Paulo Costa starts doing the Yoel Romero because he realized how frustrating it was to get his hands on Israel Adesanya. Not as easy as he thought it was from watching on the sidelines. The most disgraceful champion, honestly, I disagree. Paulo Costa is a human specimen, and he will be back. It's just whether or not he will make those adjustments, those technical adjustments to fight a guy like Israel Adesanya. And again, it comes down to the training. Prepare to fail or fail to prepare. I think it's something like that. You fail to prepare or fail to prepare, something like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. Now, this next one, Jan Blachowicz versus Dominick Reyes. I called this one correct. I said the experience of Blachowicz. Now, I'm honestly glad I was correct because at 37 years old, I started to wonder, like, maybe he's just too slow, too stuck in his own ways. You can't teach a dog new tricks. He's got his skill set, which is very good. And he's got power to boot. The difference between Dominick Reyes fighting Jon Jones and taking him to 5 in a fight that a lot of people thought he won and him fighting Jan Blachowicz is there is nothing to fear when fighting Jon Jones. Yes, he can crack you with a head kick that can hurt you like we've seen against DC, but in all honesty, a lot of his fights of late, the past few years, have gone to the decision. Unless he could take you down like he did Gustafsson and get to a dominant position where he's just going to tee off with those long-ass arms and those freaking sharp-ass elbows. That's when Jon Jones is devastating. On the feet, he has of lately been coasting and more so pop-shotting, sticking and moving, and not really sitting out on any punches, and he's okay with that. Nothing wrong with that. He's winning, he's getting his hand raised, and he's still, to me, pretty dominant in that sense. But you fight a guy like Jon, it's different. This guy can put your lights out. Dominick Reyes didn't bum rush Jan Blachowicz like he did Jon Jones. That is the difference. I think he was a little bit more hesitant, and when he got caught with those couple of body kicks in the same spot to his ribs, those kicks looked mean. They looked devastating. I don't know what it felt like. In real time watching it, it didn't look like that bad. But when you saw the damage that it left, you was like, oh. All right, he bruised him up like that from that kick. That kick must have been a lot more impactful than we thought. And then on top of that, he followed up with it multiple times, landing to the same spot. That could have taken a big toll on Dominick Reyes that we don't know about. And again, I think the power of Jon, the Polish power, as they call it, gave him some hesitancy in terms of his approach. He wasn't as aggressive as he was in his last few fights, mainly the Jon Jones fight. I thought this fight would have possibly gone 5. I thought it would have possibly gone to the ground, but that's not what we saw. We saw some crisp combinations from Jon, some accurate strikes to the ribs, and he made some adjustments. When Dominick Reyes made adjustments, the next round, coming into the second round, Blachowicz again makes adjustments, and then starts to find a home for his combinations, landing that left kick to the body, and eventually clipping Reyes and putting him down. Once he staggered him, I thought Reyes was still defending. He had his arms up, defending the punches. He was in a pretty safe position in terms of his defense. Not safe in terms of he wasn't rocked or anything. He was definitely rocked. Definitely hurt. Probably really bad. More equilibrium than I think. Definitely probably got his nose. That was Jon's nose that was really red. Got busted up a little bit. Not busted up, but it did get clipped. You see his nose. It was bright red from the jab of the jab and the crosses from Dominick Reyes. But when he was on his back, I thought Reyes did a good job of intelligently defending himself. Whether or not the fight was going to be ended from another clean 1 or 2 strikes, I don't know. But I will say, him having his hands up and not taking more damage strictly to his face, where you see guys that fall straight back and they're laying down there, their hands are by the sides, and they get cleaned. Bop, bop, bop. That's not intelligently defending yourself. If you can put your hands up consciously and know, I got to protect my face and protect my chin so I can stay in this fight, you can say the guy was hurt really bad. Well, that's the point. Eventually, this is a fist fight. You get hurt, you get dropped, you get rocked. You got to try to battle back from it and fight through that adversity. That's all I'm saying. So when I see a situation like that, by the way, this shirt is on my website, aljamainsterling.com, check it out. But when you see a situation like that in a title fight, I think it was stopped a little prematurely. Kind of like the Dominick Reyes versus Henry Cejudo. Whether or not the fight was going to end up more or less the same, I think it was. But I think in a situation like this, when the guy has his hands up, he's in full guard with his feet up, and he's kind of not like turtled over or anything, but he's got up in the most defensive position that you could be in when you're rocked. When you get dropped and you get hit with the equilibrium shot, the same thing with me and Marlon Moraes. When I fell and I got hit and I was on my back, people, when he dropped me, it was like someone pulled the rug from underneath my feet, and it was like someone threw a banana peel, and I stepped on it like whoop, 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 and I fell straight on my I think I fell on my butt, or I took the knee and then fell on my butt. Marlon Moraes rushed me. I jumped backwards, had my hands up to cover my face so I couldn't get punched. As he entered my guard, I tied him up, looking for submissions, looking for triangle chokes, and then I transitioned it into my armbar attempt that I felt like it was really close to being on because I felt the joint lock out in terms of the way he was turning, and I knew if I could just pinch my legs around his head, I was going to get the armbar. But I knew to get a better setup, not just on a wild, sporadic scramble like that. That was just super chaotic. So we get up to the feet, the knockout happens, whatever. But in that situation, I feel like it was kind of similar. Like Reyes could have been left to take more shots or at least attempt to stay in the fight, and he was robbed of that opportunity. He was hurt. So, again, the fight could have ended up the same way. He probably could have just taken more damage. But it's a title fight, life-changing opportunity on the line. And on top of that, he was still in a somewhat defensively sound position that you could possibly be in after being rocked, dropped with the equilibrium shot. So I don't know how badly he was hurt from that first punch that put him on the skates. Because again, equilibrium shots is usually, they're not the most painful, but they hit you in a spot where you legit lose all control and balance of your feet and your human body. You just fall. You just collapse exactly like that. So I don't know. That's all I'm saying about that. Again, John had a perfect performance for the most part. He did have some adversity in that. And again, I thought he battled back and made some adjustment, kept the pressure on Reyes, went back to that combination, and Reyes wasn't doing well when John was throwing combinations at him. And I think that left him open for that opportunity for John to capitalize and catch him. Now, the other thing was Reyes had all his brothers in the corner. I don't know if that was really a good thing or not. I would imagine that the guys that got you to the show or have trained you for the most of your career should be the guys in your corner. I don't know if all his brothers train, so I have no idea. I'm not saying that's a thing. I'm not giving him an excuse. But I thought that was pretty strange. Maybe he thought he took Jan lightly and thought, like, yo, I'm going to run through this guy. I'm the better athlete. I'm too smart. You hear the way Dom talks in these embedded episodes and in his interviews. And I think he almost comes off like he's already the champ and has accomplished so much already. And I think that could have possibly hurt him in this fight. I don't know. But this is my speculation from watching from the outside looking in. Now, next up, Brandon Royval, Kai Kara-France, submission in round 2. Barn burner of a first round. Back and forth. Both guys get dropped. Royval runs into a cross. He gets sat down. As he turns around, he throws a spinning back elbow. Kai Kara-France runs into it. He gets dropped. This fight is just absolute chaos. He comes back. He gets dropped again, Royval, and he stays on Kai Kara-France, using those step-in knees, using those front kicks, using the crosses, throwing the hooks and the crosses, and then coming up with that lead leg knee. I think he did great. The one thing I thought Mark Montoya, his coach, did very well with explaining to him was like, let's not like rush into anything, because that's what he was doing. He was kind of running into his strikes and giving an opportunity for the shorter guy, like Yoel Romero, the Shorama, Evander Holyfield, Shorama. I don't know why I like going off on those little tangents. But the shorter man was able to get inside and clip him coming in. Now, Royval is the much longer, rangier fighter. I thought he could have done exactly what Izzy did. But him blitzing and getting so over-aggressive cost him to get hit and drop more than he should have. I think he's ready for a top 5 fight right now. I think he makes those adjustments in the training camp. I don't know who else he's going to fight because he said, I got some stuff to work on. I got dropped twice. Yeah, he's honest with himself. I love that. But at the same time, you dominated a guy who was ranked within that top 5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know exactly what his rankings are right here. I don't know. Royval is only, how old is this guy? Mr. Raw Dog is only 28 years old. So he has a lot of time on his side. And to come into the UFC the way he has, 2 performance bonuses, fight of the night, actually 2 fight of the nights, and on top of that, getting 2 wins in such a short amount of time, taking on Tim Elliott in his UFC debut and finishing him, and then finishing a guy like Kai Kara France, that says a lot. I think Brandon Royval, Mr. Raw Dog, has arrived, and he's going to be a problem for a lot of those guys in that flyweight division. And who says flyweights aren't exciting? This is why I love the flyweight division, because they bring it. People can say whatever they want because Mighty Mouse was a champ. Things are different now. Mighty Mouse is a special talent, but he might not be the shit talker or the pot stirrer that we want him to be or that the UFC wants him to be, because I don't really give a shit. I just want to watch the guy fight. But guys like this, they bring excitement. And to see a guy like Brandon Royval, who's working full-time while training as a full-time fighter, something that I'm very familiar with, and then coming out into the UFC in 1 year, 2 fights, 2 bonuses, that's over 100 grand, probably about, with discretionary bonuses, he's probably made about over 150K for the year. And I'm not looking to put him on blast, but that's pretty fucking good for a guy who needs to work and could probably now comfortably step back, make a savings account, pay his taxes, make sure there's no issue with that, pay his coaches, and have some good residual money left over so he can focus on his career as a fighter. Now, at this point, he just needs to do the right thing with his money, make some proper investments, and set himself up for the remainder of his career and his life. Like I said, only 28 years old. And at this pace, if he keeps fighting like this, he can make some serious waves and do some serious damage to his bank account in a positive way and really pump it up and increase that so that he's set for life, man. And I think that's what I love about the sport. Now that we're in an era where we can actually make money and actually save for the future, as long as you're winning and doing the right things with your funds, good things can happen for you. So, like I said, I've trained with Brandon Royval back in 2017 when I got ready for the Sunset fight. And I thought he was a special talent back then. And to see him finally putting it all together and not like just getting taken down, laying on the ground, getting back up, creating the chaos with the scrambles, looking for those guillotines and using his long, dangly body to his advantage has been special to see, because I can see when you train with someone, you can kind of tell when they're green, they're good, but you're like, man, this guy's still green, still raw. He's got a lot of potential. And I think he's finally tapping into that. So kudos to him and the way he's been able to tear it up. The Caitlin Vieira fight, she beat Sajara Eubanks, unanimous decision. I think it was 29-28 if I remember correctly. Let me double check. I didn't get to watch too much of this fight. I do have to rewatch it. It's not saying, but whatever. It was a fun fight. Yeah, it doesn't say. It just says 3 rounds. Okay, and fell. I'm on Typology right now. Caitlin Vieira, though, I do believe she is on a little bit of a run right now. They don't have her. Oh, they're about to say. Oh, only one. She lost to Irene Aldana, who's fighting this weekend as well. The next one, Hakeem Dawodu versus Zuba Zabari Tugahov. Split decision, fun fight. First round, very competitive. I thought what would you call it? I thought the cleaner, more effective striking from the first round went to Zuba. I'm surprised he didn't lean more on his grappling that we thought he was going to do. I think for sometimes when he gets his grappling position, when he takes guys down, he has a tendency to coast and not do any damage. You saw that in the second round, where the second round was really close. I thought Hakeem was winning that round. up until the last minute where he got taken down, but nothing was really done. But Hakeem was able to get back to his feet and make it a little bit messy for the scorecards. In my opinion, I thought he won the second round. I said on Twitter that I thought that round was going to go to Zuba because people just score grappling so heavily, even though nothing is being done. You have to score for damage, man. You have to. It's a freaking fist fight. If you're not scoring for damage, then what are we doing? It's not basketball. It's not baseball. It's not tennis or golf. They're in there to hurt each other. So if you're telling me the guy who's held me while I did the damage wins the fight, that makes no sense. Unless you get to some dominant position, you advance, you land some damage, some strikes, or you attempt with submissions, I don't see a threat of you winning the fight if you're just going to hold me. I don't think you should be getting scored for that. You can score for the takedown, but what did you do with it after? Is it effective grappling, or what would you even call it? A stalemate grappling position. You're jamming up the division to do, not even the division, you're jamming up the position to kill time. I think that's kind of the way you kind of have to look at it if you're looking to score damage and to see who's really trying to win and finish the fight. That's what I think. So second round, Dawadu wins that. One judge even gave him 30-27. So I thought Zabari was a little bit cleaner in that first round. Even though Hakeem was the one pushing for it, I thought Zabari did more cleaner work. He looked more effective. So I understood why he could have probably got that first round. But then to see that Hakeem got a 30-27, I was surprised. I was like, yo, so this is why you just never know. And you can't leave it that close. When you know it's that close, it's like you almost got to just go into this burst of a frenzy in the last 10 seconds to kind of put an exclamation point on it to make it look like you are the one pushing the action and try to steal the round, so to speak. Now, the third round, Zuba, I don't even know what that was. He was shooting nonstop, trying to get the fight to the cage, trying to get the takedowns. Hakeem, beautiful takedown defense. I loved everything he was doing, transitioning, underhooks, pulling him up, getting his feet behind him, pushing him off, and trying to go back to the striking. Laying some beautiful combinations. They go through a taunting thing where he's telling him, let's go. Zuba's trying to ditto him and do the same exact thing. And then he gets eaten, caught with a 1-2. Zuba does from Hakeem. And him just tell him like, yo, let's fucking fight. Let's fight. What are you doing? Guy's running around on his Ali bike trying to like do the footwork thing. I'm like, yo, that looks good and all, but you're in a fight here, buddy. This round is close. You're not winning. If you think you won the rounds 1 and 2, silly mistake, because that's what cost you the fight. I understand. I don't know if he was hurt from that solar plex shot into the liver shot. I'm not sure. Maybe that's what it could have been. And from there, he probably was a little bit more hesitant to want to engage. I understand that. Pain to the body does not feel good, especially in a high, stressful situation, because it's not sparring. It's an actual fight. There's money on the line. There's a lot riding on it. You don't want to get embarrassed. But at the end of the day, going out like that, where you didn't even make that third round even appear to be close, in my opinion, I think that hurt him. And then the antics from Dawadu, I thought that was hilarious. And on top of that, I thought it's what solidified that he was clearly the guy in charge of that third round, and homeboy didn't want to fight. For whatever reason. I don't know what was going through his head, but that is the conclusion that I was able to gather from watching that last 2.5 minutes of that third round. Zuba came out super aggressive, trying to get the takedown. I think Khabib was imploring him to stand on the feet and throw some strikes, but he wasn't. I thought Zuba could have struck with him. He looked clean in that first round, was landing some good stuff, some 1-2s, some jabs, some good leg kicks. Dawadu landed some really good leg kicks inside and outside. And in the first round, he was doing a lot of the jump switch kick with, I wasn't really surprised. I was surprised why he kept going back to the well with that, and I was surprised Zuba wasn't able to catch him coming in with it, where he can catch the kick, maybe crack him with a jab, catching it, so you catch with the right hand, jab him with the left coming in, because he's jumping with the switch kick with the left leg. So as you back up, you know he's going to extend with that, and it might have been more of a front kick, and maybe that's why he couldn't have done that. But if he's done it so many times, maybe you'd be able to pick up on the read and catch and crack him. Or maybe Dawadu was looking to land that and then catch him with his right hand, because that's also another combination that a lot of people throw from that sequence. The ref telling them to be respectful and to watch their mouth, pretty much watch your mouth, Junior. No cussing. Be respectful. It's like, bro, there's nothing more disrespectful than someone trying to punch you and kick you and embarrass you on national TV. You can say it's a sport, and I've said this time and time again on this podcast. And remember, if you like this podcast, hit that like button and that subscribe button. But time and time again, I have said it on this podcast that if we're going to a fist fight, there's nothing about respect during the fight other than we're fighting by the rules that we signed up for. Outside of that, I have no intentions of wanting to be your friend until the fight is over. So at this point, you can say whatever you want. You could say, I'm not going to talk about your mom or anything like that, but I'm going to call you a bitch. I'm going to call you punk ass, mofo, whatever it is, anything to get in your head, to get you more emotionally involved where you might potentially make a mistake. Maybe you stay poisoned. It doesn't affect you whatsoever. But for you to tell someone who's clearly invested in the fight, it's a high-stakes fight. This changes everything. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Zuba's doing really, really well himself. For him to be running around when he's trying to put on an entertaining fight for both guys, it started off really high-level card opener for the main card opener. Both guys looking great in the first and second round, and then the third round ends like that. It's kind of like, damn, I can see why he got emotionally charged and wanted to have a few words, for lack of better words, for that situation. So, ref, chill out. That's not your job. Someone was saying that's the rules. You can't curse. I'm like, I've never been told in the back room, hey, no cursing. It's now in the rule book. As far as I'm concerned, man, I'm talking to my opponent in there, and I'm going to try to use my tactics to get in his head. And I'm not saying that's what I do, but that dude did that, and that's what he had to do. That's what he had to do. And I think it made the fight even better, despite the lackluster end from Zuba not really engaging. But it is what it is. Sometimes that happens. Again, I don't know why he was like that in that third round. Maybe that liver shot or the kicks or the body punch to the solar plex was something that really, really hurt him. This next fight, Brad Riddell versus Alex da Silva. This was a great fight. Alex da Silva looked like a man on a mission. Chisel, built like a statue. Same thing like Brad Riddell, built like a statue. But Alex da Silva looked like Yoel Romero in there. But his striking looked so crisp. And then his blast double that he shot in, boom, power through Riddell, dropped him. And it looked like he was going to run off to the races with this win. Brad Riddell weathers the early storm, comes back in the second round, losing a bit of the first few minutes of the second round, comes back and wins the end of the round, dominates the third, and gets the decision. I don't know how Alex da Silva thought he won that fight. I don't know if he thought he did enough in the first half of the second. It's probably what was going through his head, but that was not the case and not what I was watching on the outside looking in. Brad Riddell sensed the steam dropping off from da Silva and kept picking it up, and his train just kept going, kept picking up. He picked up the steam that da Silva was losing, and eventually, he put him down. There was not much left that da Silva could do. He got punched in the eye. He said it was an eye poke. That should have been a TKO right there for Brad Riddell. That actually sucks because the ref could look at the replay, but they're not supposed to use it. It's a weird rule. Only for a fight in this sequence you can use the replay. So, frustrating because I thought Brad Riddell should have gotten that TKO stop because man sat down and pretty much hit the floor to his butt because he thought he got poked in the eye. Really, in actuality, he got punched. So it is what it is. Either way, it was a fun fight. I'm excited to see what's going to be next for Brad Riddell. I think his last two fights, he's taken a little bit too much damage. I think his tenacity to come back and win is a great skill set to have, but only so much of that is going to keep working for you. I mean, his fight with Magomed Mustafayev, and then this one I think is the one that I saw that he took a lot of damage. Jamie Malarkey, in the one where they were both on their knees, and at the end of the bell, they're both scrambling to get up, and he just freaking clocks him with a right hand. Love that. Love it. That should be in the video game. Next fight, Jake Matthews versus Diego Sanchez. I thought Jake Matthews should have finished. He was huge on the odds. Very shocking that he did not put a stamp on it. I did say that Diego Sanchez is such a wild card, but he hurt him on the feet, and then he went to the ground with him, which was so bizarre. The entire house he was here like, dude, that is the one chance and one opportunity that Diego has to win right now because he's actually pretty crafty off of his back, and especially when he gets on top. He has some really good ground and pound and really good control. Jake Matthews went to the ground with him. At the end, he kind of let out a war cry. I'm like, honestly, that was a great and dominant performance, but at the same time, it was dominant, but at the same time, it wasn't. I'm not trying to shit on him. I just think that was a fight where he should have gotten a TKO. And I think his IQ at the end, taking the fight to the ground, maybe he thought he could have finished him. But when you got a guy who's actually dangerous off of his back and you put yourself in situations where you actually give him some hope, I think that was a little bit of an error on his part. Had he had let Diego Sanchez stand back up, I think he could have gotten the finish and probably finished him standing, or probably could have dropped him and finished it from a standing TKO position as opposed to going into his guard and getting tied up and submission attempts being thrown at him. Now, this next kid, Ludovic Klein versus Shane Young, round 1, TKO, and 1 minute and 16 seconds of the first round. Beautiful combination. He throws a combo, ends it with a head kick, and then he picks up the combo after he lands the head kick. So he throws the combo, he sees that the head kick lands from the southpaw position, whack. It stuns Shane Young. He gets stunned. He comes back into an orthodox position, Klein, and he follows up with a 1-4-3-4. The first uppercut lands. I think the hook lands as well, and he misses with the last uppercut, but good night. That was such a beautiful and high-level combination. To switch stances and to be as proficient in that stance as you are in your dominant stance that you normally use, super high level. I believe they were talking him up on the from the color commentator, saying how much head kicks he's gotten for like KOs. He was saying that's his favorite strike, the head kick. I'm very much looking forward to seeing a lot more from Klein. I think he's a super talented dude. I'm not sure where he's from. I think it was Serbia that he had said. Slovakia. Okay, Slovakia. I didn't know which flag that was. But super dominant, man. I thought he looked really, really good. And again, man, I'm looking forward to see what else the guy can do. Shane Young didn't really get started. I was really interested in this fight because of the haka that Shane Young did at the weigh-ins that had Dana White really, really confused. I know a lot of people were sending memes, posting memes because of that, and kind of like just trying to. People are so fucked up. They just like to poke fun at people when they're down, and that's just the world that we live in. Unfortunately, you just gotta have tough skin, and it is what it is. Now, the last one I wanted to talk about was Juan Espanol over Jeff Hughes, round 1, 3 minutes, 48 seconds. Gets the submission. Beautiful ground game. What is his name? El Guapo, 10-1. His only loss coming into his third fight in his pro career. He lost by 9 seconds in round 1 by punches. But other than that, he's finished just about. He finished, decision. Those are exhibitions. So his last 2 fights are now finishes, and his exhibition bout, he had a submission, and the other one was against Ben Sassoli, an Ultimate Fighter, was a decision. He submitted Maurice Green, rear naked choke. That's where I know him from. El Guapo's from the Ultimate Fighter. I forgot. So that's where everything is at right now for that card. The other fights, they were good fights, but those are the main ones that I really want to touch base on. Now, we have this next fight night coming up. Holly Holm versus Irene Aldana. This is going to be a fun fight, I think, for multiple reasons. Aldana is looking to ascend her way to the top of the division and take out, I don't want to call her a gatekeeper, but she's kind of starting to fill that void in Holly Holm. Aldana is 32 years old. She's 5'9", taking on Holly Holm, who is 38, and she is 5'8". So I think you're going to probably see the passing of the torch, or whether or not Holly Holm can maintain her claim as one of the top females at the bantamweight division. Her last win coming over Raquel Pennington went to a decision, and before that she lost to Amanda Nunes. And obviously she hasn't lost that much, but she did go at one point after beating Ronda Rousey. She lost 3 in a row. Misha Tate, finish. Valentina Shevchenko, decision. Jermaine Durandame, she lost decision. Beth Correa, she came back and won TKO, head kick into punches in round 3. She lost to Chris Cyborg by decision. That was kind of one-sided, if I remember correctly. And Megan Anderson, she beat her, took her down a couple of times. And then she lost to Amanda Nunes and then and that was in round 1, and then she beat Raquel Pennington. So a little bit up and down. She had that rough patch. That was the 3-fight skid. Won, came back and lost again, and we're going to see how Irene Aldana does. We don't know how good she really is. At least I don't. I still have a lot of questions. She did beat Caitlin Vieira, who just beat Shajara Eubanks. So that's saying something. She beat her with a left hook, put her down, and got the follow-up finish. She beat Vanessa Mello. Before that, losing to a split decision to Raquel Pennington, who Holly Holm beat. I can see Holly Holm implementing a lot of clinching, staying on the bike. Her classic, ish, 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 ish. That's what she always does when she makes a Kia. And she does that same blitzing motion all the time, which I think when she did that to Valentina Shevchenko, she was able to just counter her with that check right hook over and over again. So for this one, I can see her trying to implement that grappling game plan and trying to put her down and look for a way to get a finish or to just coast out a 5-round decision. I can see her doing that as well because we all know she has phenomenal cardio. It's going to be up to Irene. I don't know how good she is. I don't know what her grappling game looks like. So it's hard for me to even make a prediction on this one, but it should be a fun fight. A couple other fights. Jorgen de Castro versus Carlos Felipe. I don't know much about Carlos Felipe. Brazilian dude. He's 8-1. He lost to Sergey Spivak. Okay, I remember that fight. And that was really his fight before that was a boxing bout against Yuri Andre. He won by decision. Now, I do know Jorgen de Castro. He's a fun fighter. He had a really good fight with Greg Hardy, went to a decision. I thought if he kept hitting those leg kicks, he would have had Greg Hardy out of there, but Greg Hardy was able to get the nod. I was actually surprised with that one. I thought Jorgen de Castro was going to be a little bit too much for him in terms of experience. Before that, he got a finish over Justin Tafa and Alton Meeks on the Contender Series, and both of those fights were round 1 finishes. Other fights that's good, Jermaine Durandame versus Juliana Pena. Julie hasn't fought in a while. She had a baby, and she had some issues with her return. She's 9-3. July of 2019 was the last time she fought, and that was against Nico Montana. Nico Montana is supposed to be fighting soon, too, I thought. Damn, she keeps having canceled bouts. October 3rd, canceled again. Oh, man. Damn, that's a rough one for Nico Montana because she hasn't fought in a while since that time as well against Juliana Pena. Who is this again? Who am I looking at? Oh, Juliana Pena. So she was on a good run until she lost by armbar to Valentina Shevchenko. She had rattled off a bunch from the Ultimate Fighter. Then she won 1, 2, 3, 4 fights in a row, beating Kat Zingano on her way to Valentina Shevchenko. Came up short, got armbarred in the second round, then came back and bounced back with a big win over Nico Montana to a decision. Now, Jamorandere was the champ. She lost to Amanda Nunes at bantamweight, but before that, she beat Aspen Ladd in 16 seconds with pretty much with a right crush, dropped her and put her out. I thought it was a flash KO. I thought they could have let that fight go a little bit longer. I think the refs sometimes are a little bit overprotective of the females, and they project their own insecurities or thoughts on females that they can't fight or they can't take damage or they shouldn't take that much damage because they're a woman. I think that's a little bit wrong. They're fighters. They're in there for a reason. Let them freaking fight. If they want to go out on the shield, let them go out on the shield. Don't be in there saying, oh, I think you've had enough, because it was one punch and you stopped it. It's not like she got flatlined. She got dropped. Ref came in and stopped the fight. I thought that was a little premature. But before that, she beat Aspen Ladd, Raquel Pennington. She beat Holly Holm for the belt at 145. And when they offered her to fight Chris Cyborg, for some reason she vacated the belt. I'm not talking shit about it, but I know there was some other backstory that she was talking about on the UFC Countdown. I can't remember exactly what she was saying, but there was a lot of issues going on. And she did an interview, I think, on UFC Unfiltered. I think that's where she actually disclosed a lot more of the insight of what actually happened with that and why that fight fell through. Other guys, Kyler Phillips versus Cameron Else. Kyler Phillips, I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's a bantamweight. And Casey Kenny, I'm looking forward to seeing him against this kid, Haley Alatin. I'm not sure if this is going to be at 145 or at bantamweight. It says confirmed bouts. Let's see. Kyler Phillips, Casey Kenny. It says 135. So I guess this kid's coming down. He beat Ryan Benoit, Denai Batgrel, Kwak and Zhang. I don't know who Zhang and Quack. Oh, Zhang? I think Quack was in the UFC before at a point. Let's see. Nope, that's somebody else. That is my bad. That other girl, Look Me Boom. Look Me Boom. Look Me Boom Boom. Luma Look Boomy. I'm actually looking forward to her because I think she's got some really good Muay Thai. I think she's training out of Tiger Muay Thai. Yep, I think she's training over. Yeah, Tiger Muay Thai. Her last one, she lost to Angela Hill, but I thought she was really good, very impressive. That was a close fight, and I'm looking forward to see how she does against Jin Yu Frey, who is 9-5, 35 years old. Her last fight, she lost to Kay Hansen. Triangle armbar in round 3. But before that, she beat Ashley Cummins by decision at Invicta. Now, remember, hit that like button if you guys like the breakdowns. I don't know what else to do with this YouTube algorithm thing. Somebody, please help me out. I did get an email request from somebody that I was chatting with on the Bellator YouTube chat, asking people about the SEO and if anyone knows anything about it. And he put in a request to help me out. So I'm going to see how that goes. Other than that, I think this is pretty much it for the fights. I'm looking forward to these. I'm not super excited about any of them other than which ones are they? The bantamweight fights. Honestly, if I'm being completely candid, I do want to see how Juliana Pena does against Jermaine Geronimo. And Yorgan De Castro, I like him. I see him at the PI sometimes. He was here for quite a bit. And Holly Holm versus Irene Aldana. I guess those are the main ones that I'm very interested in seeing. Other than that, Carlos Condit versus Court McGee. That should be an interesting one. And Charles Jourdain. There are some good fights on here. Some good fighters that I want to see. Charles Jourdain, 145, taking on Joshua Coulibaly, whoever that is. He had a tough one against Andre Philly, split decision. But I think he's got some really good striking and some solid grappling as well. So I'm looking forward to see how he does with this one. But I think his striking might be better than his grappling. So this should be a fun fight against this guy. He's fighting Joshua Coulibaly, who is from Australia. He's from Australia. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Sydney, New South Wales. He is on a one-fight losing skid. He lost to Jalen Turner. Ground and pound in round 2. So he's looking to bounce back. Both of these guys looking to bounce back into the win column. If you guys have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments. I'm going to be checking out the comment section. I'm going to head over to the UFC PI right now. I got a lift coming up at 10, then I got PT at 11. And then from there, I got to go check out this car dealership place out here in Vegas and see what it looks like and see what we could potentially do in terms of working with each other. And then from there, I got to figure out what I'm doing with the gyms. I know I'm going to do my strength and conditioning already, so that's not an issue. I got to figure out. I don't have to do my own strength and conditioning like I used to in the past. So that's actually a good relief, but I have to figure out where I'm going to be doing the majority of my training camps. And I do have to finish measuring my garage. It's just a weird cutout. So I have to try to measure squares to make sure I can get all the proper dimensions of the mat. And I don't know if they can configure it one side could be a little bit shorter or longer so that it fits perfectly and I don't have to do any cutting up of the mats. I don't want to ruin the mats like that. If they could get it to the perfect fit, that would be huge people. All right. As always, if you like my shit, subscribe to my shit or spinning back this baby. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Have a beautiful Monday. Get after it. Peace.